Hi everyone, this is Darren from SimNation. A couple of you have asked me to do a series of videos for new players playing Draft Day Sports Pro Football 2023. So that's what this is, and I do apologize for you, those of you who have been waiting for it. At times I'm a little bit too perfectionist, so I've had this video done for a while, but I keep redoing it because I'm not happy with it, largely because I feel like I'm being too long-winded, but here it is. I'm going to do a couple of these videos. It's meant for new players or even experienced players who just might want to listen to it to think about things differently. Of course, Draft Day Sports Pro Football 2023 is a Wolverine Studios title. It's a great time to pick it up if you don't have it or to get an additional license because they have a summer sale going on at wolverinestudios.com. Where the game normally sells for $39.99, but it's selling for $19.99 right now. And of course, if you want to join an online league, consider WWPF. It's a really good league with a lot of good coaches. We do have drama from time to time, but normally it works itself out. So diving right in. So as a new coach coming into this game, I think the most important thing that you need to realize is the rating system. Because if you don't understand ratings, you're not going to understand how to build the system you want to build, get a really good team, know who to sign, who not to sign, who to draft, who not to draft, and then know where to play them. So I could probably spend an hour on this video just on ratings, but I'm not going to. So I'm going to dive straight in and I'm going to talk about it, but I'm going to try to talk about it in more meaningful context. So the first thing I'll tell you is if anyone ever tells you overall matters, don't listen to them. That's the first indicator that the person does not know how to play the game. The only thing that OVR or overall is really good for is determining how much money you're going to pay that player when you try to sign them or re-sign them. Because OVR is one of the basis for salary. If they have a 90, you're going to pay a lot of money for them. If they have a 70, you're going to pay less money. If they have an 80, you're going to pay a little bit more. If they have a 60, you're going to pay a lot less. So OVR does not matter outside of how much money you're going to pay somebody. What matters is these other stats. So generally speaking, strength is important in the running game. It's important on defense. It's important in blocking. So in the running game, strength is how well you can break a block. It's also how well you can hold on to the ball. So a lot of people think hands is the only thing that determines whether you fumble or not. That's not true. Strength will. So if you have a running back uh, who's fumbling a lot and they got really high hands but they have low strength, they're fumbling the ball because of strength. So on the defensive side of the ball, strength is determining in how you make tackles, your ability to break blocks, and your ability to cause fumbles. So if a guy has high strength, he can cause a lot of fumbles. And then, of course, in blocking terms, strength is very important if you're in a power rushing scenario or you're dealing with bull rushers where you need to have the ability to overpower them. So strength does matter because it's your ability to hold a block. Agility is really, really underrated, especially in receiving. The traditional way of looking at agility within this game has always been if you don't have speed, agility matters, and just throw the ball short because agility will help you be able to get the ball to someone short, and uh, that's that. Well, there's a couple reasons for that. First, it's not untrue. If you don't have speed and you have agility, throw the ball short. But the other thing about it is agility influences the ability to catch the ball or the ability to pick the ball off. Agility also influences a person's ability to cut, so ability to dodge, move side to side, be nimble. Um, and it's the same thing on defense, right? So people with agility can tackle better. People with agility can pick the ball off better. People with agility can cover better in the short passing game. If you're doing a short pass defense, you want to have people who have agility because speed doesn't really kick in until after 10 yards. Uh, arm strength, arm and accuracy are really misunderstood in my book. Uh, So arm is your ability to complete passes in the medium to long passing game. Accuracy is your ability to complete passes in the short to medium passing game. So if you have someone has arm but no accuracy, you really should be throwing the ball medium to long. If you have someone who has accuracy but no arm, you should really be throwing the ball short to medium. And what you'll notice is they'll do pretty well. Intelligence, I would argue, is really important across the board, but if you're an offensive lineman, a linebacker, a safety, a quarterback, um, intelligence matters a lot. So for quarterbacks, intelligence is their ability to see the field, know when to hold the ball, when not, avoid sacks, avoid fumbles, avoid interceptions. For linebackers, it's the ability to know when to transition out of a pass rush back into a run defense, or how to transition from run defense into a pass. So if your coordinator chooses the wrong play, intelligence will determine how quickly they can adjust to the fact that the wrong play was called, and find their way to the ball. It will help influence tackles and interceptions too, because frankly speaking, if you know where the ball is going to go and you're smart, you'll be in the position where the ball is and you'll be able to pick it off. Tackling, it'll tell you where to be. Now, a lot of running backs are stupid, but some of the really great running backs have high intelligence. And by the way, high intelligence is really, in my eyes, above 55. Uh, it's the ability to be able to see the hole. And for linemen, it's the ability to know where to be against the defense. And on the defensive side of the ball, from a lineman perspective, it's to know where to be against the offensive line. So to me, much more important on the offensive side of the ball, but intelligence is really important for offensive linemen. Tackling is what it says it is. It's your ability to bring somebody down. Speed is it sounds like it is. It's your ability, how fast you can get from point A to point B. Hands is your ability to make catches. Now, in blocking terms, hands is about hand placement. So it's good to have linemen who have hands. Now, they're not going to have like 50s. They're going to have like anywhere from maybe 15 to 30 is really good hands, which means that person probably is a good pass blocker or a good run blocker. Pass block, run block are what they sound like. Kick distance, kick accuracy is what it sounds like. Endurance, this is your ability to keep somebody on the field. So do they get tired and have to come off? And of course, if they're tired, they're not going to perform well. It's also an indicator for injuries. The lower the endurance, the more likely they get hurt, and the more likely they stay hurt. Now, the last thing is endurance is also a key indicator for performance degradation. What that means is if someone has a low endurance and you get near the end of the game, they may not recover enough to be able to do well. So a lot of times you see players with low endurance dropping off near the end of the game, whether they played or not, their performance drops off, and that's because of endurance. Skill, I would argue skill is important across the board, but if you're a quarterback, running back, offensive lineman, um, defensive lineman, linebacker, safety, I think skill matters more than other positions. For offensive linemen, skill is what helps with not missing blocks, not getting called for holding penalties. For cornerbacks, it's not getting called for all the different. For defensive players, the more skill you have, the less likely you're going to draw a penalty. It also means you're not going to miss tackles, or you're not going to blow coverage. So it is important to have, but the reality is if you have a really great cornerback who has all the other good skills and he has low skill, you should still start him and just accept the fact that you're going to get penalties. Um, what I would say is if you look at Everett Burgess and Robert Phillips from a quarterback perspective, that 100 skill versus 73 means that Phillips plays a lot better than Burgess, even though he shouldn't, because in theory, Burgess is the better quarterback. Um, and then also when you look at Lackey versus Arellano, yeah, Lackey's faster, he's got better hands, but that 100 skill is one of the reasons why he's one of the more premier running backs in the league. Now, if we go position to position, I'm trying to go through this really fast, and I apologize. I'm trying to keep this video short. Uh, if you're going to throw long, arm int skill. If you're going to throw the ball short, ac int skill. If you're going to run, throw in agi and speed. It's just that simple. Running back wise, if you're going to go up the gut, strength, agi, in my eyes, skill. If you're going to run outside, speed, agi, skill. Now, hands do matter, don't get me wrong, right? You don't want the guy coughing the ball, but generally speaking, most running backs are going to have at least 50 or higher hands, so you should be fine. The agi will help compensate for bad hands. So the higher the agi, the more likely they're not going to cough the ball up. Now, when you go up the middle, it is very important that you have strength. If you don't have strength, it's probably not going to end well for you. If you want an all-purpose back, throw in the blocking. Fullback, again, if he's a blocker, it's the blocking, strength, agi, skill. If you're doing an all-purpose fullback, it's blocking, speed, agi, skill. And then, of course, if you're just trying to catch the ball and have them be a receiving fullback, it would be speed, hands, agi, and throwing skill. So blocking wise, if you're doing a power blocking scheme, it'll be strength, agi, int, skill. If you're doing a finesse type blocking scheme, it would be the blocking skills, so pass block, run block, speed, int, agi skill. And again, the reason for that is on a lot of finesse plays, you're pulling, you're moving that person around a lot, so they need to have speed and agility. Intelligence and skill to me are not negotiable at this position. You should have them if they're going to be really, really good. There are some exceptions. McClendon is an example of that, but it's also because he's a phenomenal blocker. Now, when you get out to the tackle position, so you can get away with not having speed at center and guard. And in fact, if you have a really slow person, you might want to move them in. Uh, at tackle, I think you need to have speed and agility because you're going up against defensive ends and linebackers who are going to have speed and agility in some form. So if you don't want to have less than 40 speed on the tackles, it's probably not going to translate well. And then it's whatever you're doing. If you're doing power, it's strength, agi, int, skill. If you're doing finesse, it's blocking, speed, agi, skill, int. Almost threw myself off though. Center, again, you can get away with not having speed. Tight end wise, again, it's what you're trying to do. If you're blocking, it's strength, agi, blocking, skill. If you're doing receiving type things, it's going to be speed, hands, agi, skill. And that should cover that. Short passing game, you really want to have agi, hands, and skill. Strength is good to have too, but you're not going to find a lot of wide receivers that are really strong. If you're going long, you want to have speed, agi, int, and skill. The reason for agi being so important, even in long passing game, is because it influences the ability for you to catch the ball. So like Jason Bradley, in theory, should have like hands of stone, right? He doesn't have great hands, but if you look at him, he does drop quite a bit. But it's coming down, but he still catches the ball an awful lot, despite the fact that he doesn't have the best of hands, and that's because of his agility. On the defensive end, it depends on what you're trying to do. If you're just trying to defend against the run, strength, agi, tackle. If you're trying to bull rush, strength, agi, skill. If you're trying to speed rush, speed, agi, skill. Skill does matter, although it can compensate. Now, we'll talk a little bit later about speed rushing versus bull rushing. Bull rushing, both of them give you an added advantage of making it harder for people to block them. So Hickson and Perry both have a trait. Hickson has speed rushing, Perry has bull rushing. In theory, what it means is Perry uses strength to get by people, whereas Hickson uses speed. The reality is, as you can see, is Perry doesn't have the greatest of strength, but regardless, he gets the added benefit of having the bull rusher trait. So whenever you find people who have traits, it's always a good idea to think about getting them. That's a key talent evaluation. But you want to make sure that they at least are serviceable in whatever they are, because I've seen gunslingers who have arms of like 70. Yeah, you could probably get away with throwing long, but his arm sucks. So not quite sure. Maybe he's a gunslinger on his own brain. For defensive tackle, you can get away with not having speed hill, although if you really want to screw around with offenses, put speed in the middle. They can't handle it. But if you're guarding against the run, it's strength, agi, tackle. If you're trying to rush, it's speed, agility, skill. Well, we already did that. Linebacker, this is a hybrid position. So intelligence and skill matter more at this position because of the fact that it's a hybrid. Because again, you need people who can adjust quickly to something that changes. Linemen are largely just going to move forward or move in the path that they're going. They're not going to adjust as often. Linebackers are going to adjust a lot. So you want to have good intelligence. So non-negotiables, and I'm not going to mention them, are intelligence and skill. You must have them at this position if you're going to be successful. If you're guarding against the run, it's strength, agi, tackle. If you're getting people out in coverage, it's speed, agi, tackle, or speed, agi, hand. Sorry. Uh, Tackling is always great to have, but if they're playing in coverage, you really want speed, hand, and agi. Uh, Cornerback, again, it depends on what you're doing. If you're playing against short passing game, you want to have agi, hand, skill. If you're playing against a long passing game, you want speed, agi, hand. Strength would be for against the run, but a lot of times you're not going to play cornerbacks against the run. Um, Free safety, strong safety is going to be the same. It depends on how you're playing them. If you're playing them in the box, well, you're trying to guard against the run, you're going to want to have strength, intelligence, tackling. Uh, I'm sorry, strength, agi, tackling. If you're playing them in coverage, you're going to want to have speed, hands, and agi. Skill is always good to have at this position. Kickers, nobody kills. So there are. Someone asked me about personalities, so let me find one of these guys. So personality skills are important. Personal values matter more when you are trying to keep somebody happy, or you're trying to sign them or draft them. Well, drafting doesn't matter because they don't get a say in it. But if you're trying to sign them, this matters more. So it is what it sounds like. So if you're trying to sign somebody who cares about security, it's going to be how long have people been in positions? Are you offering a contract that makes them feel like they have a long-term uh, place in your organization? Loyalty is just more around the coaches and how do you treat your players? Are you always cutting them? Or are you doing different things to them and things like that? Winning is what it says. How good are you this season? How good have you been over time? Playing time is can they come in and play right away? Uh, so you can have people at the same position. It's are they better than those people? Close to home is generally like Hello because he values being close to home. Pennsylvania is right next to West Virginia, so I'm okay though. Market size is determined by the market size of the team. Money is what it sounds like, which is how much money are you willing to pay that person. Now, when we talk about these personality traits, it's important to understand that morale is important because this is how the player will perform. The more you win, the higher the morale they have. The more you lose, the lower morale they have. And more than likely, the more that they're going to whine, cause issues in the locker room, or they're just going to get injured and stay injured and not want to play. If a guy has a low morale and he's on your team, he's not going to likely resign easily for you. Leadership, this one's important to me because the more leaders you have on the team, the more resistant to bad morale your team is going to be. also means people will play better, uh, and they'll fight for extra yards. So people who are high leaders tend to perform better than people who are low leaders. Work ethic, this is really about training. How well do they train? If they have a low work ethic, it's not even worth training them because they're just not going to take it. Competitiveness, this is really going to determine, again, competitiveness and work ethic are both training based, but competitiveness is how much are they going to whine. If they're very highly competitive, that means they like winning. If they're losing, they're going to start whining and causing issues. The more competitive they are and they're happy, the more that they are going to make those last minute catches and do those great things when the game really matters. Team player, it's how much of a dick are they? Um, so the less of a dick they are, the better your team gels. And again, they team players are typically improving the performance of everybody else around them. Sportsmanship, this is how often that they're going to draw penalties and generally are they liked or not. Disposition is the same thing. Is this person an influencer or not? If they have a low disposition, they're probably not, and you don't want them training other players. So these are people with low disposition, low sportsmanship, probably are not the people you want to have mentoring your younger players. Again, disposition will also determine penalty. We talked about skills. To me, skills are important, but there's some positions where you can get away with not having it. Quarterback, uh, running back, guard, tackle, center. Uh, I really do believe defensive end, linebacker, and then the safeties are places where I think you really should try to prioritize having skill. Under bio, there are different personality traits. So if we were to go here, and I don't have any of that, but you'll notice like there are different ones, right? So Wolverine Studios has a really good page that lists what each one does. It's not wholly inclusive, but for instance, an athletic blocker, they get points for blocking. So they're an improved blocker. Blocking tight end, they are a better blocker and they're probably not as good of a receiver. Box safeties have good cover ability. They're also really good at tackling. Bull rushers rely on strength. The harder to block. So bull and speed rushers as defensive ends or defensive linemen, those are guys that are going to be very hard for the offensive line to block because they're getting added points for their ability to rush. Coverage linebacker just means that these are people you should play in coverage. They get a little bit extra lift whenever they're in coverage. Deep threat, these are wide receivers that get a little extra lift whenever you throw the ball long to them, and so on and so forth. So I would highly advocate looking at the Wolverine Studios page. They do need to update it because there's some things on there that aren't. The key here, though, is if you ever see diva, bad influence, off field, red flag, get the hell away from those players. They are not worth it. They will cause you prestige points because off the field red flags means they're going to get arrested, be caught selling drugs, whatever they come up with, and it's going to cause you prestige points. Bad influence is going to cause a locker room problem for you, and diva would cause a locker room problem with you. Type doesn't really matter, although it will tell you how chill they are, and it's just a cool thing to see. Now, sometimes when you look at the player, though, they will have something in here like likes the way Ray Spriggs plays the position, which means that if I was going to start Burgos, I should be really looking at how Spriggs, who's a New York Jet, is actually playing, and I should try to mirror that offense. Um, I am not because I don't play that style, but Burgos is entitled to his opinion. Also, the other thing you want to watch is do they consider anybody to be a good friend? So Phillips is good. I'll be able to resign him because he likes playing on the same team with Hickson. I'm never going to let Hickson go. So that's kind of it in a nutshell around the traits and the ratings. Hopefully you find this video valuable. I am going to do others where I talk more about game planning. But the reason why ratings matters, it tells you who to play and when. If you are going against a team that likes to throw the ball long and throw the ball short, you'll want to play your more agility type safeties and cornerbacks in the short passing game, and then have your more speedy guys in the long passing game. And I'll talk more about that in game planning. So if you like the video, let me know. But I'm gonna cap it here because I'm at 25 minutes. So thank you for your time, and definitely remember that there's a sale going on with Wolverine Studios, and I would highly recommend taking a look at it.